So here we are, Britain in 2025, and a street called Mornington Street, a place that astonishingly has been found to boast the fewest residents in the UK who speak English. And yet, the very language that binds our nation, the most spoken language in the world, is scarcely spoken there. How did we arrive at this point? How did the United Kingdom have a place where English is no longer the common tongue? It's a question that cuts to the core of our national identity, doesn't it? Well, I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is GBN Originals. For years, we've been told that multiculturalism is our strength, that diversity enriches our society. And while there's truth in welcoming and accepting different cultures, we've neglected the importance of integration and, more importantly, assimilation. We've allowed whole communities to form in isolation without encouraging a shared language or even just the basic shared values. But let's take a closer look at what that means on the ground in Mornington Street. Because it's not just a street, is it? It's a symbol of what happens when integration policies fail, when politicians prioritise virtue signalling over practical solutions. This is a place where neighbours can live side by side for years and never even share a single conversation because they don't speak the same language. It's a place where children go to school struggling to learn because the language of instruction might as well be a foreign tongue to them. Imagine being a teacher in one of those classrooms. You're tasked with educating a room full of kids who simply don't speak English as their first language, who can't clearly understand instructions, who can't participate in basic classroom activities. What kind of education are they receiving? And what kind of future are they being set up for? The consequences are stark. A study from the London School of Economics found that children who don't speak English as their first language are on average, get this, 25% less likely to pass their basic GCSEs. That's not just an academic statistic. That is a life-altering disadvantage, a life heading towards someone living off of the state. That's entire generations of children growing up without the basic qualifications they need to thrive in this country. And what about the parents? If you don't speak English, how do you engage with your own child's education? How do you attend parent-teacher meetings, read report cards, help with their homework? You can't. You're cut off from one of the most fundamental aspects of life in Britain. And that's not even getting into the cost for interpreters for local councils and the NHS. Take Leicestershire, for example. Between 2023 and 2024, Leicestershire Partnership NHS Trust spent almost £500,000 on translation services, a 55% increase from their previous year where they spent over £250,000. So over the past 5 years, that trust's total spending on translation services amounts to approximately £1.7 million. How on earth is that sustainable? Now let's talk about employment. The unemployment rate among non-English speakers is nearly double the national average. Well, you'd have to ask why, because if you can't speak the language, how do you sit for a job interview? How do you navigate the workplace? How do you even fill out a CV? You don't, do you? You're stuck in a cycle of low-wage, low-skill jobs, if you can find one at all, frankly. But it's not just about the individual, it's about society as a whole. If people can't communicate, how do we build the simple, cohesive building blocks of a community? How do we foster understanding? How do we share ideas? How do we avoid the rise of parallel societies where different groups live side by side but never truly interact? It's a breeding ground for division, for mistrust, and for resentment, isn't it? And don't tell me that this is some isolated phenomenon confined to one street. No, this is happening up and down the country. Tower Hamlets, Bradford, Leicester, there are entire areas where English is no longer the primary language, where people can live, work, shop and socialise without ever needing to learn a single word of English. And we're told that this is somehow a success story, that this is multicultural Britain thriving. It's not. This is a warning sign. It's a sign of failure, a flashing red light that we are losing our national identity. It should be one of the most basic things that anyone has to have to enter the country and live here, is to speak the language. I would expect British people to do the same in other countries, by the way. And make no mistake, the political establishment is completely complicit in this. For years, they have pushed the narrative that demanding English language proficiency is somehow xenophobic, that it's exclusionary, that it's unwelcoming. But what could be more exclusionary than allowing people to live in a country without being able to participate in its society? What could be more unwelcoming than setting people up to fail? But of course, politicians don't live on Mornington Street, do they? They don't send their children to schools where English is a second language. They don't rely on public services that are stretched thin, trying to accommodate dozens of different languages either. They don't suffer the consequences of their policies. Meanwhile, the people who do are left to pick up the pieces. They're the ones struggling to communicate with doctors and teachers and employers. They're the ones who feel isolated in their own community. They're the ones who are being abandoned by a system that prioritizes appearances over outcomes. So what is the solution? Well, it's not about closing borders or demonizing newcomers. It's about integration. It's about making sure that every single person who comes to this country has the opportunity to learn English, or at least know it before they enter, for the common good of our society. We need to stop pretending that speaking English is some sort of optional extra. It isn't. It is the most basic necessity. Mornington Street should be a wake-up call. I don't think it will be. It's a symbol of what happens when we neglect the importance of simple things like speaking English. And let's not ignore it anymore. Let's act now before more streets, more communities, and more lives become disconnected from our very nation. I've been Alex Armstrong. Don't forget to subscribe to the GB News YouTube channel to stay up to date on this story and many others.
At GB News, we believe in the power of free speech. We're not afraid to ask the tough questions, challenge the status quo, and give you a voice. While others silence dissent, we champion the truth. By becoming a GB News member, you're not just supporting free speech, you're defending it. Please consider supporting us today. Together, we'll hold the powerful to account and make sure that your voice is always heard. Simply go to gbnews.com/support and stand with us for what matters most.